Thanks for that, Rachel. So here we are again, and as we always do, we're just going to hold fire while all of the hundreds of registered viewers join us today for this is our 30th webinar, ladies and gentlemen, the 30th webinar that Multihull Solutions has hosted since early in 2020, and today, I believe, is the record in terms of registrations. Thanks in no small part to John and Richard and co and everyone there at the Down Under Rally. And while we're waiting for everyone to join in, gents, welcome. Welcome, Richard. Welcome, John.
Welcome. It's Greg. It's good to be here.
Good afternoon, Greg. Lovely to be with you.
And John, give me the rundown before we get into the serious stuff today. I hear that even with COVID, the way it's been, you've managed to get off and do a couple of rallies in this last few months. Is that right?
Yeah, we in the light that we weren't able to do the Go East rally this year, we came up with a rally up through the Coral Sea Islands, the remote Coral Sea Islands, about 200 nautical miles off the Australian coast. With the much assistance and input from Peter Sayer of Bianca Charters Coral Sea Explorers, we went and spent 3 weeks in June and then again in August with 22 boats in June and 15 in August, and spent almost 3 weeks out in those remote reefs and atolls east of Bundaberg right up through to parallel with Townsville. Just an unspoilt little piece of our backyard that very few people have ever visited, and it is extraordinary.
And obviously people can go to your website to see videos or pictures or feedback from those trips.
Yeah, it's if you go to the to our website and go to the Beyond the Barrier Rally page, we've got the videos from both highlight reels from both of those trips on there for people to watch, and some information for them to see if they'd like to do it one day themselves.
No worries. And look, while we're just waiting for everyone to join in for today's webinar, Richard, we always like to know, where are you?
Well, this photo in the background here is where I'm at. It's in the Bay de Carenage in the south part of Grande Terre, New Caledonia.
Okay. And you're looking forward to helping John today have a good chat about Vanuatu, yeah?
Yeah, I certainly am.
All right, we might slip to the next slide now, John. We've got a lot of people have now registered. Just while we're doing that, I just want to take note too. We've got a couple of people who are regularly join in and ask lots of questions and participate in our webinars. We've got Vicky there from Island Cruising New Zealand has joined, John.
Oh, lovely.
And also we've got Jeannie Socrates, who I know is a regular participant and viewer and subscriber to our webinar. So welcome, ladies.
That's lovely. Thank you.
All right, so our next webinar for Multihull Solutions and the Yacht Sales Co. is in another month's time, and that will be our 31st webinar. And that webinar, we're going to be focusing on how to fit out your new catamaran with Let's Dance Sailing. We've had a record year of sales here at Multihull Solutions this year, and there is just a growing number of people who are stepping off into this world of liveaboard cruising, or whether it be full liveaboard or whether it be seasonal liveaboard. But it is just increasing all the time, the number of people who are stepping into this beautiful activity. And one important part of that is how to fit out your new catamaran. So we'll be talking to a few of our owners and ask them to participate in that webinar in 1 month's time. As I say, this is our 30th webinar. So if you want to go back and watch any of the webinars, you can find them on the YouTube channels of Multihull Solutions or the Yacht Sales Co. All you do is find those channels, just do a follow or a subscribe, and then from there you can go back and watch anything we've covered. And if we jump to the next slide. Okay, so as we always do, if you want to ask any questions of John or Richard today, I'm going to basically step into the background once we've finished this introduction. But if you do want to ask any questions, all you have to do is type your question in the Q&A box, and as we always do, we'll either answer it as we go, or we'll hold it over to the end for a Q&A session, just depending on the question and whether it's something that we want to interrupt the guys with, or whether we want to just give it a Q&A at the end. So please do ask your questions. It's what makes our webinars very friendly and very informative. We've had some webinars that accidentally go way too long, mainly driven by the quality of questions. So if we could jump over again. And then, so myself, Greg Boller, the New York Sales Manager here at Multihull Solutions, we've been hosting these webinars now, and Rachel in the background, who does a wonderful job of putting together and scheduling and planning and doing all the background presentation work on the webinar. So that's all great. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to hand over to John. Just while we do that, John, the other thing, I hear that you've got a membership, like a members only plan underway that you're going to launch. Is that right?
Yes, it's been in the pipeline for more than a year, Greg, and we did actually launch it just on 5 weeks ago now. And the idea behind that was that a lot of people contact us early saying that they want to get the benefit of our from the cruising training courses that we run and the rally partner discounts that we offer through our rally partner network, well before they a time to depart for the rally. Some people also can't go when we go, and they still want to get access to those benefits. So you don't have to join one of our rallies now to receive the benefits that the Down Under Rally provides in regard to our rally partner network and our training offshore cruising preparation courses. You can simply become a member, and you get access to the members only portal on our website, where all of that information, including all of the offshore cruising preparation course videos, 10 of them, an hour long each, are available to you on demand for as often as you would like to watch them. So I'll share a bit more information about that in a moment. I lost you there, Greg. Can you hear me still?
Sorry, that was my fault. I said I've already had a comment there from someone who's listed as an anonymous attendee, and they've said the membership is well worth it.
Oh, well, that's lovely.
All right, so what we do is I'm going to turn my camera and microphone off just to make sure there's no distracting background noise, and let you and Richard move along with the presentation. Now, you may also turn off your cameras, but Rachel will control that for you. But if you want to now flip the slide and get rolling with today's presentation.
Well, thank you, Greg and Rachel. As always, it's a pleasure to be involved in these presentations with you. Good afternoon to everyone that's joined us, and thank you so much for your response to the announcement of the webinar. It's lovely to see so many participants here in the 3 figures as I'm looking at the counter. Just a quick intro for those of you who don't know who we are. I'm John, and my wife is Leanne. She's my admiral, and I'm the captain. And we've been full-time liveaboard cruisers for the past 12 years. As you can see, we've got quite a lot of blue water ocean miles under our keels, and we've crossed the Pacific from east to west. We've been backwards and forwards from Australia to New Caledonia and Vanuatu multiple times over the last 7 years. And we've also ventured down to New Zealand and spent a season cruising down in New Zealand. So these areas that we're talking about them from a perspective of local knowledge and having been there and done that many times. The Down Under Rally was founded in 2014, and essentially the Down Under Rally offers annual yacht rallies from Australia to the Southwest Pacific Islands. To date, over 400 vessels and 1,000 people have participated in our rallies. We've got a focus on advice, education, support, advocacy, local knowledge, and community. The advocacy part of it has been something that's been forefront in the last 18 months, with vessels being stuck in places overseas and We've been doing some lobbying on behalf of many of the international cruisers that have found themselves somewhat displaced. There's been visa issues here for those that found themselves in Australia and not able to leave, and therefore visa problems that we managed to lobby the government and solve for them so they didn't continually have to be paying for visa renewals. So that's what we're about. We're here to support. That's the rallies that we run, or we have run every year until the last couple of years. And that's what we're going to continue to do. I did mention just briefly that we've launched our membership organisation now. And in the 4 odd weeks, just under 5 weeks since we've launched it, we've had a very, very good response. We've got, we're building a really diverse membership base with some very experienced cruisers who are known to us, who've participated in our rallies before, some relatively new to cruising that are looking forward to getting out there and exploring the Pacific, and some who are in the very early stages, even yet to buy their first vessel. And they hail from ports all over Australia, literally, and as well as internationally, Canada, USA, Switzerland, New Zealand. So yeah, it's been very, very good. If you're interested to know more about that, you can jump onto our website, at downunderrally.com membership. The benefits include discounts and specials all year round from on a wide range of marine products from our rally partners. We've got over 40 rally partner businesses, and many of those are participating and offering specials and offers to our members. Our offshore cruising preparation course is available to everyone there for as long as they're a member. It goes on and on. So I won't bore you with it. If you're interested, jump onto our website, have a look, and see what you think. I've got the absolute pleasure to once again introduce a gentleman who's become my friend over many years. I first was exposed to Richard and his musings, if we say, way back in about 2005 when I was doing all my research for our voyages and where we had hoped to go. And I came across this log of the Moira, which you might see on the right-hand side of the screen here. And I got into there, and this was Richard. I didn't know it was Richard then. I didn't know anything about Richard then, and it was inspirational for me. I think it's still available if people want to go in there and know something about Richard. What, 30 years ago that was, Richard?
Yeah, yes, it was. Actually, a little bit longer than that, but 35 years.
So you can roll the clock back if you want on Richard Chesher and see what he was like as a young fella. And what he got up to. Some of it's quite interesting and entertaining. I first really got involved with Richard when we started the rallies back in 2014, 2015, and I had been a user of this Rocket Cruising Guides that he's published and was a massive fan of them myself, and then I wanted to get them to be available to our rally participants. So that's how our relationship was born, and it's been fostered ever since. Richard's been a massive asset to me, and we couldn't have done what we've done without his involvement. He's got a pretty impressive bio there. He's not your average bear, let's just say. So it's a privilege to have Richard here, and we're going to really get some great information from him. He's done another one of his fantastic videos that's going to take you on this virtual tour of Vanuatu. I've watched it 5 or 6 times, and I got goosebumps talking about it then. I'm really amazed at what he's able to do. So welcome, Richard. If you'd like to say anything, I know that you're quite quiet and like to be in the background a bit, but if you'd like to say anything now to everyone, please feel free.
Okay, John, first of all, thank you very much for that very nice introduction. And I would like to say something. I'd like to say that in all the years that I've been cruising, I've had a lot of interactions with various cruising rallies and organizers of cruising rallies. And John, I think you're the tops. You're absolutely amazing what you've done. And I think the work that you're doing with the advocacy, helping out the yachts that are stuck during the COVID problem, that's been really very, very, very good. And very nice of you too. And I also think that your membership program is great, and it offers some wonderful things to help people get ready to do their cruising, and even if they're going to be cruising locally there in Australia. So yeah, thank you very much, and thank you for all of the good work that you've done over the years.
Oh, that's humbling, Richard. Thank you. And I'll send you the money later. All righty, let's get into it. So Richard is the author, as we said, of these rocket cruising guides. You're going to see why we consider them to be must-have cruising guides. The video that Richard's going to be presenting is based on the guides, and although you wouldn't know it, you would think it was something incredibly different. So anyway, if after all this you think that you need to have these rocket cruising guides, and you're a Down Under Rally member, we'll get you a 20% rebate on them if you purchase them from us through our website. So jump on over there and have a look if you are wanting to buy the guides after you've watched this presentation. Richard doesn't just do Vanuatu, he does New Caledonia, and you'll see that there's 2 guides for Vanuatu and 2 guides for New Caledonia. One is the rocket cruising guide, which you'll see on the left-hand side of the screen, and the other is the rocket travel guide. So they're 2 entirely different guides that you're provided with and provide 2 entirely different sets of information. The previous webinar we did on Destination New Caledonia, we had a guest from New Caledonia Tourism present on that one. And she actually commented to me afterwards that she learnt things about New Caledonia that she wasn't aware of as a result of the things Richard shared from the travel guide. So it is an incredible resource, and I would encourage you to make that investment in this voyage if you're going to be making it. So the elephant in the room, can we go to Vanuatu next year? The current status as at today. I've been speaking with Vanuatu Tourism this morning as well as yesterday, and all seaports in Vanuatu remain closed to foreign yachts. Only cargo vessels are permitted to enter, and the crew of cargo vessels are not permitted to disembark and go on shore. Unfortunately, a couple of days ago, they had a cargo vessel arrive in Vanuatu from New Caledonia that wasn't expected, and there has been a couple of cases introduced into the community only this week that they're very concerned about. So this is an ongoing issue over there. As of Monday, the 18th of October, only 17% of the target population are double vaccinated. I've given you the source of that information there so you can quantify it. ABC Radio Pacific Beat, and the URL's there if you'd like to listen to the podcast that talks about this. We've also shared an article on our Facebook page about it. So you can go into the Down Under Rally Facebook page and find the article and read it there as well if you like. But look, the situation over there is it's not dire because they've managed to avoid becoming infected with COVID in the community. The situation now as it's coming out of lockdown and closures is dire for them because they've got to get this vaccination rate up, and their communities are very remote. And anyone that's had a COVID shot probably knows that we need to go and sit in a room for 15 minutes after we've had it and make sure that we're okay and we don't have a reaction. At least that was my experience. While their medical staff are on hand in case you've got an issue. Well, that's not going to be the case in Vanuatu. You're not going to be able to do that. And so it's a very tentative for them. And we've just got to be patient and understand that, as much as we want to go, we don't want to worsen the situation. So we'll just wait. Indications are that maybe in the middle of next year, there will be some opening. It may not be the whole country. It may be the whole country. We just don't know. It just depends on what's going on. We're in touch. We're going to keep people informed that are in touch with us about it. And, that's the status quo there at the moment. Richard, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I don't, except the population of Vanuatu has been exposed to European plagues many times in the past, and they've lost a huge proportion of their population from diseases. And they're very, very reticent and worried about it. So I would agree with you that I don't think it's going to be possible until May, July of next year, unfortunately. But the population here is getting more and more vaccinated, and the government is talking about reopening the country's borders, so it may be possible here.
just for those that may have joined us late, Richard's sitting on his vessel, the Moira, in Bay de Carenage in New Caledonia, where he lives. So that's when he says here, he's referencing New Caledonia. I guess now that we've opened that door, New Caledonia has had a tough time in the last couple of months, Richard.
Yes, they have. It's been very serious. They've been, since September 6th, the country's been locked down, and it spread very, very quickly. The new Delta virus spread very quickly through the community. We've had over 250 deaths and thousands of cases of community cases of the Delta virus. But it seems to be under control now, and the numbers of the vaccination has increased remarkably. They're now well over 50% double vaccinated, and I think they're going on to 70%. So hopefully they're looking at getting 85% of the population vaccinated by the end of the year.
Thank you for sharing that. That concurs with what I've learnt from my discussions with people over there, again, in the last couple of days. New Caledonia tourism are optimistic, to be conservative about the likelihood of New Caledonia reopening in the first quarter of next year. New Caledonia's borders are currently closed, and they will remain closed at this point in time until the 31st of December, at which time, somewhere before then, they'll make an announcement about what the future looks like and what an opening might look like if they are ready to reopen. But it's much more probable that New Caledonia will be open in the early part of the year next year than Vanuatu, for instance. I guess the thing on our side from where we're sitting is we're in Australia. Many of you are maybe viewing from New Zealand, and we're in cyclone season anyway, so we're not going over there until May. So, it's promising. So we'll just watch this space, I guess. It's certainly a better outlook than it was this time last year. Alrighty, I'm not going to go into great lengths about how to get to Vanuatu from Australia or New Zealand on this version of the webinar. We've done this in depth before. If you'd like to know the ins and outs of getting from Australia to Vanuatu and New Zealand to Vanuatu, or in fact anywhere in the Southwest Pacific from Australia, tune in and watch this webinar we did back in November last year, sailing to and cruising the Southwest Pacific. It's on Multihull Solutions YouTube channel. It's on our YouTube channel down under Raleigh. If you scan the QR code there, it'll open up for that particular webinar. Richard's also going to touch on it in his presentation. So not too much about getting there. If we can go in 2022, New Caledonia will be the first port of call, and we will, as always, depart Queensland in May 2022 with the Go East Rally. If you want to know anything more about that and you want more information from us about that, jump onto the website and register your interest in the Go East Rally. It's a obligation-free expression of interest. It just means that you'll receive communication from us about it. And then, of course, we'll be in New Caledonia for 3 months, and hopefully by then Vanuatu might be open to us to be able to voyage from New Caledonia to Vanuatu and explore there. But it's all it's promising, but it's definitely not finite. In 2023, we're going to do something different. I would like to go to Vanuatu earlier in the season for a number of reasons. One being that there's a lot of festivals held in the northern part of Vanuatu, which Richard's going to talk about in the earlier months, June, July, including the Pentecost land diving that goes on up there, which is something that I've long wanted to see. And it's a little warmer in northern Vanuatu in the early part of the year than it is in the latter part of the year. Than New Caledonia is in the early part of the year. So, look, I could talk about this for an hour, but there's a number of reasons why we'd like to do it this way. And we've mapped out a route that would see us depart Bundaberg and proceed along the way the sailboats are going there to Santo. And then we would spend a couple of months slowly making our way down to Awhate, albeit against the trade winds, but at a leisurely rate, because we will have time to find our way down there and explore everything in between. then down to down to Tanna, and then across and clear into New Caledonia in the Loyalty Islands in Lifu, which you can't normally do. So again, a lot of people that go to New Caledonia with us don't get to go to Lifu because you can't, clearance issues. You can't clear in and you can't clear out. So it's to windward from New Cal. There's a whole lot of reasons that people miss out on it. So this is a way that we will get the best of all things, I think. I've discussed this route with Richard and he thinks it's great. Richard, by the way, didn't used to live in New Caledonia. He used to come backwards and forwards from Australia every year. So he's done every possible which way, going backwards and forwards from Australia to the Vanuatu and New Caledonia. And, you're quite positive about this route, Richard.
Yes, I am. In fact, I think there's a lot of good reasons to be doing it that way. For one thing, from Santo down to Afate, you can really day sail, in fact, in a few hours from one anchorage to the other. So you get to explore the islands in the northern and the central part of Vanuatu right at the start. And that's, as you say, that's when all of the really interesting festivals are. And again, sailing south, yes, it is against the trade winds, but you go in the morning and just do a day-by-day sail down there, and it's not a big deal. So, yeah, I think it's a good idea. And definitely the idea of clearing into Lifu and Ovea is well worthwhile and very, very useful. And as you say, you can't do that unless it's with Down Under Rally.
Or our friends at Island Cruising.
John, is that a non-stop to Santo, or do you stop at Chesterfield? You get the mission and stop?
You're breaking up a little bit, Greg, there. I think you said, is it a non-stop to Santo? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Can you hear me there now?
Thank you. Yeah, that's much clearer. Yes. Look, normally you're not supposed to stop. Once you've received clearance out of Australia from the Australian Border Force, you're supposed to make an uninterrupted voyage to your destination port. We've spoken with the ABF and we've been told that it will be possible for us to stop at Wreck Reef when we leave Port of Bundaberg as an organised group. That's about 200 nautical miles from Bundaberg, and it's a very spacious and settled anchorage in trade wind conditions. Chesterfield Reef is, I don't know that we'll be able to stop there yet. It'll depend on New Caledonia's approval for us to do that, because it's not part of the Coral Sea as Australia's territory. It's part of New Caledonia's territory. But even if we don't stop, we will enter the lagoon and exit the lagoon and get some relief. The lagoon there's massive, so we would transit through there. And if there was a reason to stop, force majeure, for instance, vessels needing to take respite and repair things or whatever, we would be able to make that happen. So yeah, it's Chesterfield to Santo is about the same distance as Southport is to New Caledonia. So it'll be a very convenient stop if we're able to make it, but it's not the end of the world if we can't. Alrighty. So where to then? Let's say we've done our New Caledonia Vanuatu thing and we want to go out to Fiji. The amount of people that say to me, why don't the Down Under Rally run a rally from Australia to Fiji? Anyone that's done that trip will tell you that that's not for the faint-hearted. To try and do that trip direct from Australia requires extraordinary good planning and extraordinary good management, and it's really what I consider to be for a seasoned sailor who is not opposed to a lot of windward work. It's difficult. I don't want to be running a rally that's that difficult or on a voyage that's that difficult. So, it's the other thing is, of course, most people haven't been to Vanuatu and New Caledonia yet, and you can't do them justice, as Richard's going to show you in one season anyway. So to sail past New Caledonia and Vanuatu or stop there briefly to get to Fiji without having, really spent time exploring New Caledonia and Vanuatu I don't think it's wise. I think the best thing to do is get some experience, do a crossing from Australia to New Cal, get some experience cruising the islands and the remoteness, shake the boat down really well, do a 6-month cruise, and then if everything's going to plan, take the boat down to Opua in New Zealand with our friends at the Island Cruising New Zealand on a Go South rally that we're doing in partnership with them. and either leave the boat in New Zealand for the summer and come home, or stay with the boat and enjoy cruising, Northland New Zealand, which we've done, and it is a stunning cruising ground. The Bay of Islands and Great Barrier Reef, and Great Barrier Island and Merks and all those places. And then you can head out with the rally again with some very experienced people and find your way to Tonga and experience Tonga, and then Fiji, and spend most of your time, in places that you've not been, and you don't need to worry about rushing through to try and get to Vanuatu and New Caledonia as well, because you've already been there, done that. So that's another option for people. We're also planning a rally, and I'm not supposed to talk about it yet. Vicky will probably go mad at me, but anyway, from Australia to New Zealand. So OZ to NZ rally, departing Australia in early 2022, subject to borders statuses, for Opua, New Zealand, to then allow those that have already done New Caledonia and Vanuatu to join the Pacific Circuit rally out of New Zealand, which will be a modified version probably, and it will likely only just go directly to Fiji. We don't know yet about the status of Tonga, but sail from Opua, New Zealand to Fiji with the Island Cruising New Zealand, and get up there and experience that, and spend a good 4 months, 5 months even, in Fiji before returning. So that's another thing to look out for. When we've got our everything together, we'll be talking about that.
Okay, so just while you're there, John, before you start on the next slide, you can hear me all right now?
Clear as a bell.
Okay, so just a couple of questions. I just wanted to scoot through these just before we roll on. We mentioned the rocket guides early on. There is a question there, Richard, from Nick Race, just saying, what are the latest versions? So maybe you can email Nick later on, or you can mention now if you want.
Anyone that's currently, and Richard will talk to this as well, but anyone that's currently got the rocket guides and a paid version of the rocket guides that they've purchased from Rocket Guides, and there is some versions out there that are purported to be rocket guides and they're nothing like it. But if you've got a prepaid version of the rocket guide, you have got lifetime updates free. All you need to do is email Richard at what is it? What's the email, Richard?
Well, enjoying@rocket-guides.com.
But your email address is
Yes, that'll work.
Just say it again, please.
Enjoying@rocket-guides.com.
That email will get to Richard, and if you made the subject line updates, Richard will be able to then confirm your product key and your registration, and give you instructions as to how they download the most recent update. And that goes on for as long as the rocket guides are around. Is that correct, Richard?
Yeah, not exactly. We do we do charge a small fee for the upgrades. The latest upgrade, by the way, is in October. We've just finished an upgrade to it, especially the Vanuatu guide. We've done a lot of new additions to it, and it takes a lot of work to do that. We have to maintain the websites and keep them going. So, yeah, we do charge a small amount, but it's probably the cost of buying a magazine in a store in Australia, so it's not a big deal.
Right, thank you. I didn't realise that was the case. So my apologies, folks. There is a small cost to keep them up to date.
Okay, now just before you race along, there was a bit of interest there in this idea of going out to Vanuatu from Bundaberg and then back to Southport. There was a question, what is that distance? What is that sailing distance from Bundaberg to Santo?
I'll back up a bit. Whoops.
Yeah.
Just shy of 1,100 nautical miles from Port of Bundaberg to Luganville at Santo.
Okay, very good.
So 200 odd miles to Wreck Reef, about 400 odd miles, about another 300 odd miles to Chesterfield, and then another, call it 600 odd miles from Chesterfield to Santo.
And listen, we always get this question with your presentations. Is your Go East rally open to Australian registered boats and vice versa?
Yes.
Yes.
You must be an Australian registered boat, and if you are leaving Australia and you're an Australian aboard your vessel, it must be an Australian registered vessel, and that's different to your state registration. It's a whole other thing to get into. Anyone wants to understand that, please just contact me. I'll let you know. If you're a visiting yacht here on a control permit, an Australian Border First control permit from New Zealand or anywhere, then of course you don't need to be Australian registered because you're a foreign flagged vessel. And yes, you're welcome to join us. Okay.
Yeah, and sorry to clarify, the question was, is your Go East rally only open to Australian registered boats? And the answer is obviously, if you're an Australian, it has to be Australian registered.
Correct.
And then just before we let you roll on, also Andre asked 22 or 23. So that was that question was asked just before you popped it up there. So 2023 for that Go East yacht rally. And then, is there any limit on the number of yachts that you have in the rally? Is there a cut-off limit?
Yeah, look, historically, we for the Go East rally, we keep it, circa 40, maybe 44. It just depends, because typically we'll have a couple of drop out right before they leave for various reasons. So around 40, but because of the backup demand that we've got over 250 expressions of interest in our email list at the moment. Because the boats that couldn't go in 2020 still would like to go. The boats that had intended to go in 2021 would still like to go. And the boats that were going to go in 2022 would still like to go. So there's this massive backlog. We may well do 2 sailing dates next year. If we've got more registrations than we can comfortably manage in one voyage, we will look at doing 2 sailing dates and get more vessels over there.
Okay. And just to confirm, that was 1,100 nautical miles, wasn't it, from Bundaberg out to Santo?
Thereabouts, yes. Give or take. But
yep. Okay, very good. So sorry to interrupt you there in your presentation, but that's great. We've just cleared a few questions before you now launch on to the next part of the presentation.
No, that's cool, mate. Just jump in anytime. All righty. So we've talked about that. There's a term called FIFOs. So we've got fly in, fly out visitors. They may be your family, they may be your friends, they may be your partner who doesn't much like sailing with you anymore. So we call them FIFOs. And where can FIFOs come if they're going to be meeting you in Vanuatu? Our friends at Yachting World Vanuatu also operate waterfront keys apartments right there on the dock at Yachting World. So they'll be able to see your boat and they'll be able to fly in and meet you there and be comfortable waiting for you to arrive. So sailing to a schedule and having to get there because your friends are flying in and you've got to meet them at the airport. We all know how that ends often, and it ends in tears and broken boats and all sorts of things. So there's a really lovely place where these guys can come and fly in and get a very affordable and comfortable and modern apartment and stay there until you arrive and be well looked after. So that's at Port Vila in Afate, Waterfront Keys Apartments at Yachting World. Formalities and entry costs. Okay, there's an advance notification of arrival of minimum 48 hours prior to arrival that must be submitted to Vanuatu Customs before you depart or arrive in Vanuatu. That is a very non-negotiable matter, and if you don't do it, you'll find yourself in all sorts of bother at the other end, including potential detention. I won't go any further into the consequences, just understand that they're dire. So don't go there unless you've submitted your advance notification of arrival. At the bottom of this page, you can see www.cruisingvanuatu.com. If you go in there, all the formalities details, including links to the current pages on the Vanuatu website, customs website, immigration, are there for you to be able to see what's required, download forms. I see Richard's desperate to jump in and say something here. So go
ahead. John, there's a hyphen missing after cruising.
Between cruising and Vanuatu?
Yeah, it's cruising-vanuatu.com.
Okay, so everyone's got that. Just on that URL, pop a hyphen in between cruising and Vanuatu. And you can get all the update information and download the forms that you'll need to complete and the email addresses that you'll need to email them to in order to do this. Of course, if you're traveling with us, we'll take care of all that and we make it go away. But if you're going on your own, either from Fiji, arriving in Vanuatu, or Australia or New Zealand, make sure that you've got the formalities right. On arrival, there'll be a health quarantine fee of $70 per vessel. That's regardless of how many people are aboard. So it's $70 Australian per vessel. These are rough fees because they're converted from Vanuatu to Australian dollars, and they're subject to currency fluctuation. So, don't call me up and tell me it cost you $80 and I said 70. It may well happen. There's a visa that's granted 1 month on arrival, and that cost is 60 odd Australian dollars per vessel, not per person, per vessel. Then you will have to apply for a visa extension in Ifate in Port Vila if you're wanting to stay for more than a month, and you will be granted up to a 4-month extension at a cost of $60 AUD, but that is per person for the extension. And then there's a cruising levy that's payable on departure. So the first 30 days of cruising in Vanuatu is going to cost you circa $95. That's a flat fee for the first 30 days, whether you're there for 30 days or not. Then it's going to cost you $95 Australian. Sorry, it's going to cost you $95 for the first 30 days. Then it's going to cost you $1.20 per day Australian, thereabouts, for each subsequent day. So it's not massive, but you need to be aware that those fees are there. Anything you want to add on that, Richard?
No.
Okay, the next thing we often ask is what sort of gifts should we take to Vanuatu and trading and pencils and pencil cases and lollies and all these sorts of things. Look, it's very important that you understand that the cruise ships previously frequent Vanuatu and someone's told them to take all their old T-shirts and clothes and give the clothes and T-shirts and their colouring in pencils and all these pads and paper and things to the people when they visit, and they've literally got in many cases, and that might not be the case now, maybe they've used it up, but prior to COVID, we've witnessed garden lockers full of colouring in pencils and pads and things where they've just got too much of it. So don't not take it, but give some thought to what they actually will appreciate and will be able to use and get some value from. Such as, anything that they don't have to buy themselves that they need, staples, bags of rice, flour, sugar, milk, all those sorts of things, means that they've got that money that they would normally have had to spend on that to buy the things that they would like to have, the extra things. And that money is being spent in the community at the community stores. So it's helping the local economy as well. So try and give some lovely fun things for sure, but make sure you also try and give some things that have got a usable value. Cooking oil, soap, personal hygiene things, fabric, it's all listed here. You'd be able to come back and look at this on the webinar once we post the recorded version of it and screenshot it or take a photo of it now. These are recommendations from our friends at Sailing with Purpose, www.sailingwithpurpose.com. They're NGO and they've been helping the people in Vanuatu. They're yachties just like us, and they've dedicated a lot of their time and effort to helping make life better for the people in the communities in Vanuatu. If you've got any desire to do any charity work and get involved with building and projects, Sailing with Purpose are your people. They'll put you in the right place and make sure you get the right outcome. Richard?
Yeah, and gifts to avoid, you don't have on there is alcohol. You do not want to give people alcohol in the islands under any condition. It's just not done. And the other thing is that most of these items should be thought of as for trading, not gift giving. There's a whole section on gift giving that was written by Francis Hickey from the Vanuatu Cultural Center on the Rocket Guide. And it goes into gift giving is a very, very special thing within the Vanuatu community. They have cultural requirements and cultural patterns that they do. And if you come in there and just start passing out gifts to people here and there, it can cause jealousy between people in the village. It's okay to give a gift to the chief of the village. That's just a measure of respect, and he's the host. So that's okay to give something to the gift. But again, you don't want to give the chief something that is more valuable than he could give back to you. It's just a question of balance. You have to respect his position in the community. But other people, Like if you've got guitar strings or you got toothbrush and toothpaste, trade for other veggies. And you can also buy veggies at the price that once you've been in Vanuatu, you'll know what the market price is worth, and you'd be happy to buy that. The other good thing to do is to buy things that they make, baskets, carvings, and other items that help promote the traditional artistry of the community.
Yeah, that's great input. Thank you, Richard. One of the most interesting things one of our rally participants did, we were doing the trading thing and the gift giving, and he pulled out a heap of pumps. And he'd done his research and he realized that people were forever giving gifts of soccer balls and footballs and things, but no one ever gave them any pumps to pump the things up with. So when they went flat, they couldn't pump them back up again. So he took over a bag full of pumps so that they could actually pump these things up, which was very thoughtful. All righty. This is Richard's virtual visit to Vanuatu. We're going to just run this. It's a video that Richard's made and pre-recorded. So sit back and enjoy this. And Richard's going to take you on a trip through Vanuatu. Excuse me.
Hi, we're Richard and Freddie Chesher. We created the Rocket Cruising Guide to Vanuatu and the Rocket Travel Guide to Vanuatu so you can enjoy cruising these special islands as much as we do. Cruising Vanuatu is a magic cultural experience you will truly enjoy and never forget. Here are some of the reasons cruising people from all over the world cherish their visit to the islands of Vanuatu. Known as the Friendly Islands, Vanuatu has been tagged as one of the happiest countries in the world. The people of Vanuatu have a powerful and enduring attachment to their islands and their environment. In the remote islands, the people still followed their ancestral traditions, and their artwork, dances, music, and dress will transport you to an era before the concept of time began. The Vanuatu people's sense of community and culture creates a kind of peace and friendliness that extends to the visitors from other lands. They are, in a word, really nice. Vanuatu is one of the very few places on Earth where you can enter into an ancient culture and still feel safe and comfortable at the same time. You'll be constantly amazed and surprised by Vanuatu and its people. But to enjoy the islands of Vanuatu, you have to sail there first. Sailing or motoring to Vanuatu is an enjoyable experience if you select a good weather window and your yacht is seaworthy. When sailing from Australia, yachts participating in the Down Under Rally generally stop in New Caledonia, about 790 nautical miles from Brisbane, and then, after exploring the New Caledonia Lagoon for a few months, sail about 200 nautical miles to NJEM, the southernmost Vanuatu island. Yachts traveling on their own can't enter in NJEM, so they generally sail to Tanna or go 332 nautical miles to Port Vila. Rally yachts coming from Fiji sail 450 nautical miles from Lautoka to NJEM, or, if sailing alone, they sail 519 nautical miles from Lautoka to Port Vila. From the Bay of Islands, New Zealand, rally yachts sail 928 nautical miles to NJEM, and solo yachts sail 1,100 nautical miles to Port Vila. Vanuatu has about 80 volcanic islands with easy, deep water sailing between them. The islands are close enough together so that you can day sail up the entire island chain and back down again. The archipelago is separated into 4 island provinces: Tafia in the south, Chesher, with the country's capital Port Vila on the island of Efate, the Central Island Group, and the Banks Islands in the north. Many yachts choose to enter Vanuatu in the south so they can visit these interesting islands, then sail north with favorable winds. Rally organizers get special permission
from the Director of Customs and pay the cost of flying the clearance officials from Port Vila to NJEM and back, so their participants can enter into the southernmost island and then day hop north to Tana, Erromango, and on to Port Vila. Lenical Tana is a port of entry, but a very, very poor anchorage. Clearing into Port Resolution, a better Tana anchorage, requires special permission from the Director of Customs and also requires paying the travel expenses for clearance officials to make the 4-hour drive from Lenical to Port Resolution, if the road is passable, and back again. That's pretty expensive, and if the wind changes to the northeast, a yacht would need to get out quickly. So yachts traveling solo often wind up sailing directly to Port Vila. Tana is one of the most interesting islands in Vanuatu for 2 reasons. One, it has the most accessible active volcano in the world. And 2, Tana has an enchanting traditional culture. Most yachts anchor in Port Resolution to visit the volcano. Mount Yasser is just a short drive from the Port Resolution Yacht Club and an easy walk up a trail to the edge of the crater. When the volcano explodes, and it erupts every few minutes, the blast is something you'll never forget. You can organize a traditional village tour or the Black Magic Tour and experience Tana's ancient culture and phenomenal storytelling. Getting a tour organized is another reason why you want to join a rally. The more participants, the more enthusiastic the dances and presentations. Be sure to click on the information icon and read the information on the treasure X marks the spot. And find the message in the bottle for a remarkable story about the volcano. After exploring Tana, it's a 53 nautical mile downwind reach to Dillon's Bay on the west side of Erromango. Dillon's Bay is well protected with good holding in 8 meters of water. At high tide, you can take your dinghy up the river to visit the village and organize treks into the interior or visits to historic sites before sailing the 81 nautical miles to Port Vila on the island of Afate. Port Vila Harbor is protected from winds from any direction, but it's also very deep, with few places you can safely anchor. Most cruising yachts tie up to the Yachting World Seawall Marina, or rent one of their moorings. Yachting World's fuel and freshwater wharf is really the only place in Vanuatu where you can easily fill up with diesel and fill the tanks with water. Connect Cafe provides broadband internet as well as Wi-Fi internet directly to the yachts. Yachting World is the cruiser's home away from home, with showers, furnished apartments, laundry service, garbage disposal, the dinghy wharf, and the waterfront bar and grill's Cruiser's Corner, where sailors from all over the world get together. The first order of business after the required check-in with customs is resupplying with fresh food. The Port Vila Village Market has fresh veggies at reasonable prices. And the downtown Au Bon Marché supermarket is right next door. After resupplying, check out the Rocket Travel Guide to Vanuatu to see the many things to do around Port Vila and the island of Afate. You'll probably want to rent a car and find out about local buses and how to deal with taxi drivers. There are a lot of good restaurants in Port Vila with a wide variety of different kinds of food, including, of course, the yacht favorite Waterfront Bar and Grill at Yachting World. You might be interested in doing a scuba dive on some of the local wrecks or coral reefs, or maybe even going horseback riding. You can rent a car to drive around the island and visit some of the places of interest. For sure, you're going to want to visit Mele Falls, and the Secret Garden just north of Port Vila, and take a tour around Afate in an air-conditioned bus to the Epule River Custom Village. The villagers will show you their traditional beliefs, medicines, how to catch crabs, social traditions, cooking, kava, their sacred stone, music, and dances. Once you have your out-island sailing permit from Customs and have extended your 1-month immigration status, you can continue your cruise north. You'll want to plan your cruise through the central and northern islands of Vanuatu so you can attend one or more of the festivals. The dates when they are held and the kind of festival varies each year, and they can change unexpectedly. Check out the dates on cruising-vanuatu.com when you're in Port Vila. The Rocket Cruising Guide offers suggested routes between island groups, and you'll see these in more detail when you zoom in by clicking on a region or an island. Yachts leave Havana Harbor on Afate and can either day hop north via Ime Island or sail 51 nautical miles to Revelou Bay on Epi Island and then on to Lammen Bay, a favorite anchorage for yachts. Both Epi anchorages have good holding and are reasonably calm, except in westerly winds. From Epi, you'll plan your cruise through the Central Island Group. This is day sailing at its best. Plenty of deep water, few offshore hazards, lots of good anchorages, and a truly wonderful, welcoming culture. You'll decide which way you want to go, depending on if you want to attend a particular festival, how long you have available, if you intend to return to Port Vila or clear out in Luganville, and the wind forecasts. Malekula has more good anchorages than any other Vanuatu island, annual festivals, and a diverse and interesting culture. The east coast, from the Masculine Islands in the south to Vau Island in the north, has 22 anchorages, and there are 9 anchorages on the southern and western coasts. Yachts go to Hembrow to see the volcano and traditional magic. Hembrow's art and dance emerges from the ecology of a live volcano, powerful, primitive, and potent. There are 5 major art forms: sand drawings, tam-tam drums, magic rocks, fern tree carvings, and the holistic blend of costumes, movements, and surroundings of Hembrow's Ram dance. You can see the artwork anytime, but the Ram dance only takes place during the Back to My Roots festival in August. Yachts are welcome to attend. Pentecost and Mewo, the eastern central islands, are great to explore if the winds are southeast-east, but the anchorages are totally exposed to the west. So when you're cruising there, you'll need to keep close watch on the weather. If a cold front is approaching and winds are expected to shift counterclockwise through the north and then blow hard from the west, use the Rocket Cruising Guide to pick out the nearest anchorage with protection from the north and west winds and get moving right away. Espiritu Santo is Vanuatu's largest island, and Luganville is the second largest city and a port of entry. When you arrive in Luganville, you need to check in with Customs and Immigration. The Rocket Guide shows you exactly where they are and how to get to them. After checking in with the authorities, you can resupply with food from the village market or one of the supermarkets. If you need fuel, you can. If there is a very calm spell or winds are from the north, tie up to the commercial wharf and have a tanker bring the fuel. But if you don't need much fuel, you can bring your own containers to the service station in town and fill them there. When you're in Luganville, I recommend doing the Millennium Cave Tour. It's really a fun trek through a jungle, a giant cave. There's even a waterfall inside the cave, and down an exciting river gorge. I also recommend doing a traditional village tour, even if you've done them before, because Villeville Village Tour is just so enjoyable. You can then explore the anchorages on the east coast of Santo, and depending on your mood, schedule, and the weather, either day hop back to Port Vila via Ambay and the Eastern Islands, or head north to visit the Banks Islands. Gawa is 48 nautical miles from Port Orly, Santo. Gawa is thought to be the first island settled in Vanuatu some 4,000 years ago. It's a live volcano with a lake in one of the craters and the largest waterfall in the Pacific Islands. A great two-day trek from Losalava anchorage. Vanuatu is only 16 nautical miles north of Gawa, and you'll want to head for Sola on the east side of the island. Sola is an official port of entry and the district center for the Banks Islands. You can organize a trek to the top of the volcano, a visit to the Sulphur River to see some crocodiles, or do some limited shopping. Ra Island is only 10 nautical miles north-northeast of Sola, and if you call ahead, the Ra Island Lodge will organize traditional dancing and lunch. Yuri Parapara is even more remote, and the Lorup Bay anchorage is inside the volcano crater. While you're looking at the anchorage on the rocket guide, be sure to click on the bottle with the note inside for a fascinating story about the yacht Bamboo Free. From Yuri Parapara, you can go 56 nautical miles west to the Torres Islands or 22 nautical miles south to Waterfall Bay on the west side of Vanuatu. And then begin planning your return to Luganville and or Port Vila. During your adventures in Vanuatu, you will, without a doubt, make friends with some of the villagers and find anchorages you really enjoy and want to return to again. You'll discover you just can't go to all the places you'd like to explore and do all the things you'd like to do in one cruising season. The next time you return to Vanuatu, you'll have a much better idea of where to go and what to do. It's always like that. The second time you go, you'll be way ahead of the game. That's where the rocket cruising and travel guides to Vanuatu come in, because you can do a virtual cruise to every single anchorage on every island in Vanuatu before you even set sail for your first visit. Navigate the rocket guide easily, instantly, with no internet. You'll find whatever you want to know with a couple of clicks, and discover treasures you'd only find with the Rocket Cruising and Travel Guide to Vanuatu. Download your Rocket Cruising Guides now and do a virtual cruise through the islands. When you actually arrive in Vanuatu, it will be like you've been there before.
What an unbelievably good presentation. Richard, I've seen it before and I've enjoyed it again. I sat here for every moment and learnt things again. I might just share with people something, those that don't know, and you certainly wouldn't know by looking at him. Richard is 81. Well, have you had a birthday since I last spoke to you?
No.
Richard's 81 years of age, and he has created those rocket cruising guides over the last 20 plus years, and he's continually improving them. And that whole presentation was based on the images, everything you saw was all contained within the information inside that rocket cruising guide. Thank you so very, very much, Richard. It's such a lovely privilege to have you do what you do.
Thanks, John. And I hope that people who want to go to Vanuatu realize that the way to get there is right now is to go ahead and get the rocket guide. You'll be able to plan your cruise. And we have a special on during a COVID special where if you buy the guide now, you'll get free updates forever after that.
Yeah, that's
And,
Awesome.
Richard and John, just a couple of comments there. First of all, agreed, that was a brilliant presentation. And like all your presentations, Richard, they just make you want to go.
Thank you.
To the destination, that is. So the question there, does Vanuatu have mangrove-lined rivers for cyclone sheltering?
You go, Richard.
Say that again? You're breaking up. I'm sorry.
Sorry, does Vanuatu have mangrove-lined rivers for cyclone sheltering?
no.
Not really. They're volcanic islands, and there's they're very poor facilities for cyclones, which is why we were resident there for 7 years, and we never spent a cyclone season in Vanuatu because of that. There are some places you could go. You could go up what's called Murder River in Malakula, but it's kind of, I really wouldn't want, the thing is that Vanuatu, when it gets a cyclone, it can be very severe. The other places on the screen right now that you're looking at, you can see the boats tied up there on the moorings behind Iriiki Island. A lot of boats go in there during when a cyclone is approaching, because that's one of the more secure anchorages. But what they do is, I mean, like the power boats, the fishing boats and so on, will come in there and run the boat right up on the beach. And just plow out of the water. And it's very hazardous. Boats break loose, and it's, even though it's well protected, the winds do come around from different directions, and it's just not a good place to be during a cyclone.
Very good. And then just while we're there, just before we roll past it, Helen just made a comment. This is going all the way back to the discussion about presents and trading equipment, bartering equipment. One was that basic medical supplies, paracetamol, etc., welcome. And then when you were there talking about the volcano, Rachel Eberhard did mention that Yasu is currently erupting. So that's just some comments there. Now, how many slides do we have to go there, John?
I'm going to say 5, maybe.
Okay, fine, not a problem. And the reason I ask that is if anyone has any questions and you want to stack them up or rack them up so that we can have them for the Q&A at the end, now's a good time to type those questions. We won't interrupt the gentlemen now between here and the end of the presentation. So while they're going on, you're quite welcome to leave questions.
Cheers, Greg. All righty, we'll keep going. We're not far from the end now. So if you want more information... Sorry, if you want some more information about Vanuatu and all the Southwest Pacific, please feel free to download our Go West magazine. There's a lot of other information in there, but nothing anywhere near as comprehensive as what you've just witnessed. We have, in my conversations with New Caledonia Tourism, we've been speaking with the organisers of the Grouporama race in New Caledonia, which is scheduled to go ahead on the 19th of June, 2022. And by the look of it, we'll be in New Caledonia, fingers crossed, with the Go East rally then. And they've created an all-new cruising division for the Grouporama race so that cruising yachts can participate and enjoy it. It's a circumnavigation race around New Caledonia. And it's something else. If you Google Grouporama on YouTube, you'll find some videos of past races and participants there. It's a hell of an event and a lot of fun and a great time to be in Noumea when that's going on. So keep that one in your back pocket if you're thinking of going. They're not going to open registrations just yet, but if you're keen to participate and you want to keep informed, let us know and we'll let you know when they open it for registrations. We want to just say a quick thank you before we move on to the questions area there to our rally partners, especially over the last 18 months. The ones that you see on the screen are just a portion of them, but they are our premium partners who have supported us thick and thin for many years, but more so, especially during this last 18 months, that we literally wouldn't be sitting here talking to you if they hadn't continued to support us. And of course, always to Richard, who does so much more than just provide a discount for the guides. So our rally partners, guys, if you can support them, they can keep supporting us. So jump onto our services directory page of our website, the rally partners page, and you'll see what they offer to our rally members. Of course, Multihull Solutions have been there from the start for us as well, and they're a wonderful supporter of what we do, and we appreciate them very much. And the yacht sales company now as well. So that's it. Questions, if you've got them, we'll answer them. We do a newsletter every month or so. I'm not particularly anal about when I do it, but when I've got something to share, I'll do it. So if you want to get our Ahoy newsletter, go to the bottom of any page of our website and subscribe, and you'll get the Ahoy newsletter. So, yeah, that's a wrap for the presentation. We're open to questions.
Well, you must have done a very good job because it's not that many, and we did answer quite a few as we went through there. We'll just wait a couple of ticks to see if anyone does type anything. That was a very efficient presentation today. I think.
I have a question, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, here in the Beta Carenage in New Caledonia, the video is maybe a little bit slow. The internet reception here is not that good, but the video is very, very broken, and the sound didn't quite come through very well. So we're going to put put that same video up on YouTube, and if you'd like to see it there, I think you'll get a better reception of it.
It'll
also maybe what we might do also is we'll get you to give it to Rachel just as a package, and we'll put it up on our YouTube channel too, with obviously the links and the recognition that it's your video. So.
Greg, before this webinar goes up to YouTube, we'll edit it and put the original footage of Richard's video in there, so that the webinar version on YouTube is not like it may well appear at the moment. For Richard's knowledge, on my screen it looked quite good, so we'll see. But we'll also put it to our website. It'll be everywhere, so you won't have any trouble finding it. And if you can't find it, send it down under Ali an email and we'll direct you to where it'll be.
Okay, we've got a couple of questions, gentlemen. First one is, I'm a newbie. Thanks, Barry. Why Vanuatu over New Cal? It's closer. And I don't think we're saying one is better than the other. We've just, on our last presentation, we did Vanuatu in April, I think it was. And then today we chose to discuss Vanuatu. Is that correct, gents?
I'll take that one, Richard, and then please add to it. Barry, we're not suggesting to bypass New Caledonia. In fact, if you're coming from Australia, you'll pretty much have to sail into New Caledonia to get to Vanuatu. New Caledonia, currently you only are able to get a 90-day stay. So an Australian or a New Zealand resident that's sailing into New Caledonia will be issued with a 90-day visa on arrival. So typically you're going to be arriving there in late May or June maybe. So you've got June, July, August. You've still got 3 months of the cruising season left that you're not going to be able to continue to remain in Vanuatu unless you've been able to obtain a long stay visa before you've left Australia or New Zealand, and good luck with that. That's just not easy to do. So the logical progression is to break the voyage up for a start and do the 800 odd nautical miles from Australia to New Cal, enjoy New Caledonia's lagoon, and then move on to Vanuatu and enjoy what Richard's shown you in Vanuatu there. That's the route, if you like, and the reasoning why both places are included.
Yeah, I'd like to pitch in on that too and say that when we were residents in Vanuatu, we'd go to Australia, actually down to Sydney, every cyclone season. And so we've made that trip many, many times, and we always stopped in New Caledonia going both ways. So it's just a natural stopping point. And the other thing I'd like to point out is that you're dealing with an entirely different kind of cruising. Here in New Caledonia, you're cruising through the world's largest coral reef lagoon, with absolutely fantastic coral reefs to dive on, and places and islands and islets that you can go where there's nobody else but you. And in Vanuatu, when you go to Vanuatu, well, what's really special over there are the people and the traditional culture that you can be exposed to, as I said in the video. And it's just a different kind of experience entirely. So, yeah, I think the main thing is to do both.
Hey, Greg, sorry. Greg, sorry. Just I was sitting here thinking what might have prompted Barry to ask that question. What have we said that might have prompted him to ask that question? And I've thought it may well be the plan on 2023 to go straight to Vanuatu as opposed to doing what we've normally done. So, Barry, as we mentioned, one of the things that appeals to us about doing that is to be able to attend those festivals that we've normally never been able to attend because we've been in New Caledonia. The second thing is it is considerably warmer in the northern part of Vanuatu during late May, June, July than it is in New Caledonia. So, you know, it's from a temperature point of view, New Caledonia is more enjoyable in the latter part of the year from my perspective. You know, September, October, and the water temperature is different. The sailing angle to get to Santo from Australia is a little bit easier. It's not quite as tight. So, you know, and you can break the voyage up there as we've shown. So yeah, look, they're the reasons why we're choosing to do it. And to be honest with you, we've been doing Australia, New Cal, Vanuatu, Australia for, you know, several years now. It'll be nice to just change it up.
I've got another important question before we let everyone go. Carol has asked, what budget should we factor in to join your rally?
I think the question was, what's the budget to factor in for the rally? Was that?
Yeah, to join your rally, what budget should someone factor?
Look, for both legs, if you're doing it next year with us to New Cal and then on to Vanuatu, you're circa, you know, $2,500.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, thank you. Well done. And another great resource to add into all of our respective libraries. So, thank you, Richard. Listen, there was a couple of questions there. There was another question about cyclone bolt holes in New Caledonia. But from what I'm hearing from you, Richard, most people will just do a seasonal visit to New Caledonia, Vanuatu, and they get south or get back to Australia and New Zealand for the cyclone seasons, right?
Yes, absolutely.
There might be some international cruises there that are listening in, Greg, that are considering their options, and their options are going to be different because they may be EU passport holders and they've got longer stays, and there's all sorts of, you know, variables there. New Caledonia, I mean, Richard spent every cyclone season there for a number of years, and I've not done it and I won't do it. We can't get insurance. There's a number of reasons why we wouldn't do it. But my understanding is that there's a number of options, Richard.
Yeah, there are cyclone holes here, but the problem is that there's a lot of local boats. And when the cyclone comes by, the local boats flood into the cyclone anchorages, and it gets very crowded. And, you know, some of the ones that are in the mangroves are good. They're very, very protected. But again, when you have several, you got 50 boats that want to get in there at the same time, it can be a bit of a hassle.
Yeah, no,
and also when the cyclones do come, they can come fast and furious. There's just not a lot of time to get to a good cyclone hole and get well situated. So again, it's not a really, New Caledonia is possible for cyclones, but again, you have a lot of boats here, resident boats, and you're competing with them for the very few good cyclone holes.
And even the marinas, they're full.
Yeah, and the marinas are chock-a-block full.
Okay, and the final question for today, was that $2,500 per vessel or per person?
Per vessel, Greg.
Okay, very good. Congratulations.
Person, sorry, just to clarify, one vessel with 2 persons aboard, there's a small additional fee for crew members just to cover the administration and any events and things.
Excellent. All right. Well, take care out there, the Cheshers, on your yacht. Have a good summer. And have you been sailing around, or have you been locked away in the anchorage?
We've been locked down here since September 6th. Before that, we were able to sail around okay, but during the lockdown, pleasure boat yachting is not allowed.
All right, not a problem.
Congratulations on your 30th, Greg.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys.
Thank you.